Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
The Heritage Classic went down yesterday, went down in history, and of course it was the Battle of Alberta, BOA going on, and Edmonton, after having not such a great run into the season so far, they did all right, 5-2. Not to spoil anything for you, probably seen it this morning, and you might have even seen clips of Nickelback performing. Of course, they were doing the halftime presentation. They also had the Beaches performing, and keeping it Albertan. But a lot of people were joking about the opening song from Nickelback. Of course, they have a cover of Elton John's Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. A lot of people going, hey, wait, you know it's Sunday, right? You do know. I think they knew. I think they had it figured out. Of course, they also played a few other songs, Rockstar, How You Remind Me, and everything. They even said, we grew up in Alberta. We know firsthand the rivalry between these two cities. This is what we talk about all year long. So, I mean, they are definitely keeping it Albertan, but still, people were hung up on that Saturday thing. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. You can have a song that has a day of the week in it and play it for a crowd on a different day of the week. But, I mean, to appease those who really wanted it to be something Sunday related, I guess they could have just kind of re-sang a different word for someday. I don't know if it really would have worked in the lyrics, though. I hit 2 of the Halloween haunted houses that were available to walk through to survive. The Haunted Village at Heritage Village, which is more than just the haunted house. There's a whole thing going on there. The Haunting of Fort McMurray. And that is for the Boys and Girls Club, as well as the Fort McMurray, the Wood Buffalo Food Bank Association, working on it together. And the Haunting of Fort McMurray, kind of the evolution of the Haunting of Ball Place, and a spiritual successor to the Chateau Boo of the past. So much fun. The Haunted Village, I wish you could see it if you didn't get to go and check it out. They had the whole thing in the barn at Heritage Village. They had a haunted maze in the center, walking around with hot chocolates and things. It was so nice, so festive. And then in the clubhouse, in the gym at the BGC downtown, there's one more night for you to survive the Haunting of Fort McMurray. Now, if you want to take a look at a preview, I don't have that for you. The reason is that my girlfriend offered to record a few clips of me walking through it to share, but she managed to record less than 5 seconds of it. I'm not kidding. She had the camera out the whole time. I thought she was recording. She thought she was recording. This is all she captured. And that is it.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
How about wine that's been aged in a coffin? Haunted wine. This is a real thing, but it's not really available, and also not really coffin aged, in my opinion. Let me tell you the story. 19 Crimes. You probably have encountered the bottle of their wine. They've got a UK edition, a UK branch, and they've got wines that a bunch of bottles, not even for sale. They just kind of did them as a promotional thing. They were sharing them at events this weekend, and they revealed a big video where they took a bunch of these bottles, they put them into a custom-made coffin, and actually put it into the ground. They interred it in the ground at a graveyard in a cemetery, the Tower Hamlets Cemetery specifically, buried amongst the dead. And then they put a glow-in-the-dark bottle label on it. And they're, saying, hey, it's haunted and it was, aged in a coffin. How crazy is that? Here's the thing, though. It's just a bunch of bottles in a coffin. It's like somebody stashed something they found on a Spanish galleon or something like that, like hoarded treasure. That's probably no good to drink anymore. But this stuff probably tastes delicious. However, I would say to be coffin-aged, doesn't it have to just be, aged in a coffin? No bottles within? That might get weird, though. It might leak out. Then you just got a bunch of drunk corpses on your hands, and hey, that's just dangerous. I've seen the movies. It's music news time, and I just actually saw that All In Sports Den has the 30th anniversary release edition of Dookie, the album from Green Day, in hand. That just came out just earlier this year. And there's beyond that, an interesting weekend was had, of course, all kinds of people taken in Nickelback performing at the historical 20th anniversary Heritage Classic just yesterday. And we were talking about it earlier on the show, how a great number of people were saying, hey, you're going to open up with the Elton John cover of Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. Even though it's Sunday night, hey, they'll be all right. They'll be all right. Blink-182 in the news because they did a one-song performance at a Denny's. Of course, they've been releasing a new album, and new songs from it have been dropping every week or so. They did a one-song performance. That's it. A concert of one track at a Long Beach branch of Denny's, the diner, of course, having everybody inside absolutely raging out like a crazy punk rock mosh pit going on. But I don't know if that's the first time that's ever happened in a Denny's. Maybe just the first time it's ever happened with Blink-182.
Tuesday.
Pumpkin seeds win last night for me. I am riding the high today because it finally worked. For years I would try and roast the pumpkin seeds because I remember being a kid and loving that. They tasted so good. Mom would bring them out after the big carving session a little while later, and still warm from the oven. Oh, amazing. I used to love that. I've tried it as an adult so many times, and they just come out terrible. They're so chewy and so much like fibrous seed stuff going on. Can't even really taste the salt flavor. It was so bad. Finally figured it out. Finally figured Mom's old secret out. Well, okay. I didn't so much figure it out as I saw a TikTok video about boiling the seeds in salty water before roasting them, and finally realizing there's a step that I completely forgot about now that I'm an adult. They worked out so well, though. I mean, just the most basic, just experimenting, trying to actually make them edible, let alone, experimenting with trying to actually have them have different flavors, different tastes. You can make them a little spicy, you can make them a little pumpkin spicy, a little sweet, make them kind of like beer nuts. Oh, there's so many different ways. And I finally cracked the secret. Is that a seed joke? It's a bad one if it is. A question for you, and you can call or text in your answer if you like, 780-715-2789. Think back to when you were younger and you were actually doing the trick-or-treating. Might be a case nowadays where you're taking your youngsters out trick-or-treating, or you're doing the shell out at home. But when you were younger and you were doing it, was it pillowcases or buckets for trick-or-treat candy collection purposes? And maybe the answer is, both. Tell me the story. Maybe neither. Maybe you didn't have either of those selections. Maybe you just literally brought your hollowed-out pumpkin and carried that heavy thing around. I doubt it, but I want to know your story. You tell it to me. Once again, 780-715-2789, because for me, I remember pillowcases for the longest time. I don't think they're so much in vogue as a choice these days, but even if it was buckets at the door, you brought the pillowcase just to fill up. Like that was the main haul vessel. What did you do when you were growing up?
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
Taylor Swift, which is an artist you don't really hear on our station, but she has been famously releasing re-recorded versions of her songs after her entire Masters collection was purchased by somebody else, and she wasn't given the opportunity to. Well, now in the news, some labels have been reportedly asking some artists, or even creating new contracts that prevent them from re-recording their releases for up to 30 years in some cases, trying to circumvent this from happening again. Of course, Taylor's making even more money now on her re-releases, which she owns wholeheartedly. And just recently in the news, Jay-Z has been talking about how impossible it was for him to acquire the masters to his music through his career as well. So, instead of preventing the re-recording, maybe just allow artists to buy their own music from you once again. Record labels can be weird. Human League in the news again. You weren't expecting that, but it's because they've announced a 2024 arena tour. Not going to be coming anywhere near here, though. The 80s new wave sound is going to be hitting UK arenas exclusively, at least for now. Somebody stole $3,000 in Halloween decorations? Not around here. Not anywhere in our neighborhood. Apparently, when somebody came around the home of Jesse Jones in Raleigh, North Carolina, $3,000 worth of Halloween decorations disappeared from that front lawn. That's a whole lot. That's a ton. How do you do that? How do you facilitate that? They have a trailer attached to a vehicle or something? There's got to be a trail that can be followed. Tire tracks that they can figure out impressions from. Forensic the stuff out of this. You know what I mean? 6 iconic Halloween decorations were stolen, people. 5 large clowns and a Jason animatronic. Okay, all right. Well, now I know why 5 of them were stolen. Maybe it wasn't even to steal them and keep them and own them or sell them or whatever. Maybe they're not trying to fence these clowns. They're just trying to take them out of commission, if you know what I mean. They're just sick of seeing those clowns staring at them from across the street. That's my theory. But $3,000 worth of Halloween decorations. Well, I can't condone it. It does make sense on a level. Those decorations will be worth half as much on November 1st, so they gotta act fast.
Wednesday.
Halloween night, candy was definitely procured and, of course, eaten, but did the parents get into it? That is the question mark. I mean, we know about the Jimmy Kimmel trick. Yearly, annually, it's always so fun torturing those kids. But they get the candy afterwards anyway. They'll be fine. But these days, kids have all kinds of tools at their disposal, all kinds of technology and apps that are readily handy to make sure that they know exactly what they've got at the end of the Halloween day, at the end of the trick-or-treating. Kids counting candy. I had a friend of mine tell me that their kid legitimately writes down the varieties and the stock. They're taking inventory after they go and get all that candy, just to make sure that if anything goes missing, they can audit the whole system. Practically making spreadsheets about it. Better with finances than I am. But it's candy instead of money. You know, they care about it that much. So I don't know. If you're going to be skimming off the top, don't do it on the sly. Don't do it secretly. The kids will know. Just take it and tell them that it's the candy tax. It's as simple as that.
Hey Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
Brand new guitar announced, a team up between Epiphone and Kirk Hammett of Metallica. Another one of these 1979 Flying V guitar editions, but more to be made, more to be readily available, and Kirk Hammett himself saying it means so much to me to be able to put good guitars in the hands of young players. Well, you know, if they have the money for it, that is. The Beatles, of course, heavily in the news because of the new music, perhaps the final new song that actually features work from all four of the Beatles to be released this week. Now, it's actually sort of a triple release schedule. Today, there's going to be a 13-minute documentary that's going to tease the song itself, called Now and Then. The title of the documentary is the same. And this is sort of a documentary that spins off from another one, because there was the whole Get Back docuseries that Peter Jackson put together a few years ago in several parts. Incredible stuff. But some of the technology that was utilized and even developed specifically for that has been put into use in making this song a possibility, with the AI extrication of John Lennon's voice from old demo tapes and things like that. And so the documentary today, the song tomorrow, and the music video directed by Peter Jackson featuring a bunch of archival footage is out on Friday. So tons of Beatles this week. I caught some entitled comments this morning. Where are all the decorations? Why has no one gone all out for Halloween this year? Why has no one done it for me? It's so sad to see that kind of thing, that kind of attitude. And you just know. You know it deep down in your heart. Those people didn't even consider breaking a sweat to do their own decorations, did they? Did they? Probably not. Because then they'd be like, come look at ours. But they're not. Just complaining. And, that'll happen. But just so you know, two things. One, not everyone celebrates or even likes Halloween. They don't have to. Leave them alone. And two, this town actually went all out for Halloween. The map at ymmlights.com was jam-packed with locations. People were exchanging, all the addresses, the advice, the routes and everything online. It was crazy to see. And what I saw with my own eyes up in Abisan yesterday with trick-or-eating was amazing. As you're packing everything away to store it for next year, just know that it looked and sounded, and in some cases smelled, absolutely incredible.
Thursday.
Well, it's finally happened out there in the world. You wonder if somebody's a delivery driver of various food items and they're working really hard, not giving themselves a chance to get a break. They might find themselves finding creative ways to relieve themselves on the job. A man in Utah claims that he ordered some Chick-fil-A and instead of a milkshake, the delivery driver accidentally handed him a cup of warm urine. Yeah, I'm not sure how he was able to tell the difference, I really couldn't tell. And he does say he went as far as he took a sip beforehand. I don't know, that's the part where I start to call into question the validity of this whole story. Because if you're ordering a milkshake and you get handed a warm cup, there's sensory things that go on that would indicate that there's something wrong. Maybe don't dive right into the situation. But, it's kind of one of those stories where you think, well, actually, it is a matter of time. Maybe this guy is full of it. But somebody out there might actually have this happen to them. I don't know. And if it was on purpose, that's a whole nother story. That gives me Ben Stiller's cameo in Happy Gilmore vibes.
Sir, could I trouble you for a glass of warm milk? It helps put me asleep. You could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up. Now you will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
Ace Frehley, original guitarist for the band Kiss, has got a new album out next year, and he says his solo work is going to make Paul Stanley look like an imbecile. Now, there is some feuding going on there that was extra fueled when gasoline was dumped on it earlier this year. And it was basically commentary from the frontman of the band, Paul Stanley, about why they didn't perform when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame about 10 years ago. And that was basically because they demanded that they needed the original lineup of Kiss to show up to the performance. And Stanley said, because if you saw people on stage who looked like Kiss but sounded like that, maybe we should be called Piss. Yeah, I can see why Ace would be upset, but of course Ace is always upset about something. Huey Lewis and the News got some news because they're going to be bringing their Broadway musical to Broadway. It has never actually played there. It's going to get that Broadway New York City polish, but The Heart of Rock and Roll debuted in San Diego in 2018, has played all over the place, but will come to Broadway March 2024, and a big opening night party for the 22nd of April next year, if you just so happen to find yourself in the Big Apple.
Thanks for listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
When I was out for the Trick or Eat walkabout in Abasand, I noticed there was a great number of people, and, power to them, might not have been able to be there in person to hand out candy, or might not have been, interested in doing the social side of things, but still wanting to make sure that the kids can have a good experience and give out the candy. People were leaving the bowls, the boxes, even like the stacked grab bags ready to go for people putting in the effort, and I love it. And the money, too. Let's not forget that. That Halloween candy does cost money. So shout out to those people. Last night, I popped on YouTube and saw that Mark Rober, the guy behind those holiday videos where they're thwarting porch thieves of packages, has gotten onto the Halloween thief train and is, getting a little help from somebody who's got a big name in the game when it comes to tricking people at Halloween, Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy, you are the I told my kids I ate their Halloween candy guy.
I am.
I'm the glitter bomb guy. I feel like if you combine those, then you get, we're gonna prank kids who take more than one piece of candy.
Oh, I thought we were going to make kids eat a glitter bomb.
So we kicked off.
The entire video was riveting. I was glued to the TV last night. It's so satisfying to see all of the different engineered contraptions thwarting the various candy thieves. I cannot wait to see how this develops over the next couple of years, but I'm linking this video for you in the blog. You can check it at cruiseradio.com.
Friday.
There's a Canadian man who wants to show you his gigantic zucchini. This thing is, I would say, classified as novelty-sized. That's how big we're talking about. And he has even applied to the Guinness World Record book to have it verified as the longest zucchini in the world. It's been getting a lot of attention, understandably. Guy walks by with that kind of vegetation showing. People are going to give it a double take. People are going to take notice. So we got to give a congratulations, maybe even a salute, to Henry DeAngela of Ontario. Gotta say, sir, quite a specimen. 8 feet and 4.8 inches long. What? Did you think I was not actually talking about a zucchini? What else could it be?
I'll get some hot dogs.
No footlongs.
I know. They make you uncomfortable.
Of course, you know already there was an idea and imagining of how to put out the final Beatles song when the original recordings of this song were not usable whatsoever. AI was employed to separate vocal tracks from guitar sounds and was making the possibility to have a song with all of the original 4 Beatles performing on it a possibility again. Heralded and marketed around the world as the final Beatles song. First, we got the mini documentary showing up on Disney Plus as well as on YouTube. And then we heard the song released fully yesterday. Today, the music video has arrived, directed by Peter Jackson, who of course helmed the Get Back music video, or not music video rather, a docu-series on Disney Plus. That is very, very fascinating to watch, and some of the technology from that utilized to create Now and Then. It's wild. Go check it out. We've actually linked it to you at cruiseradio.com if you want to check out the brand new music video. There's another big story today, and that of course is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 2023. They're being inducted later on today. at a New York show. And in fact, the live broadcast is going to be on Disney Plus as well, if you're curious. Those recognized as performers are Kate Bush, Sheryl Crow, Missy Elliott, George Michael posthumously, Willie Nelson, Rage Against the Machine, and the Spinners. As well, the Musical Influence Award is going to be going to DJ Kool Herc as well as Link Ray, again posthumously. The Music Excellence Award winners going to Al Cooper, Bernie Taupin, famed Elton John songwriter, as well as Shaka Khan. And the Lifetime Achievement Award going to the creator of Soul Train, Don Cornelius, tonight. The Anti-Rat Task Force of Alberta can't get no rest because there's been a couple of incidents in Calgary, recycling plants on the edge of the city, two of them in the same place, sort of the same neighborhood area. They have reported an infestation. Alberta defines an infestation as any time there is more than one rat in one location. So, not a lot of rats, potentially, but still, we take it so seriously. Since 1950, we've been the world's largest rat-free landmass. And all I can picture in my head now after reading this story is what a TV show about the Alberta Rat Task Squad would actually look like or sound like, and of course I'm picturing completely over the top, like the music video for Sabotage from the Beastie Boys kind of thing, giant mustaches, even more giant aviator glasses. Get your paws on the ground right now! But don't they always have their paws on the ground, Terry? Get your paws on the ground even more!
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruise FM.